Today's mix is all about this beautiful black pigment, PBK 31, otherwise known as Perylene Green. This is such a beautiful color. I love Perylene Green. I love using it in landscapes, especially for like a cooler green that would be off in the distance. You might be wondering, why the heck are we mixing Perylene Green? This is not a very expensive pigment to purchase or have in our collection, but you know what? Some of you might not have it in your collection, and that's what happened to me. I was away this weekend. I brought this little palette because I wanted to play with some of these colors. This is my Maimeri Blu palette. Now, the collection of colors I have from Maimeri Blu are quite limited, and I didn't choose these. So these are not colors, if you're seeing this, these are not colors that I would necessarily pick for myself. I would definitely, if I was picking 20 colors like I have here, would probably have chosen different ones based on the way that I paint. However, these were a gift to me and I greatly appreciate them, and I wanted to play with them because these are the only Maimeri Blu colors I have. And I've done other videos on this palette, so if you're interested in seeing that, I'll try to put a link up here for you so that you can check out that video. However, this is what I had. And if you look here, there is the Cupric Green Phthalo Deep, PG7. So a phthalo green. And then Sap Green is PG17. Those are the only greens I had. This is definitely not a very natural green, not something that I would really use on its own in a landscape. However, I do have some other beautiful colors that I can mix greens with, and I actually ended up mixing a couple very interesting greens with this palette. As I'm using it more, I'm just learning which colors I like best together. And so I thought I would share this with you because when I was away and painting, I was thinking, I really wish I had Perylene Green in here. And then I thought, I wonder if I can make something similar. So I was mixing with something, and I thought when I got back, I would check and see just how close is this to the original. I think you're going to be pretty impressed with this one. So why mix Perylene Green? Well, because I didn't have it. And if you don't have it, but you do like the overall look, we can make this one. To start with, we're going to use, let me just give these a quick wake up. I only need a couple. This one stumped everybody. If you're on, if you're a channel member or a patron and you're over on Discord, we play Guess the Mix, where I post an image of the mix that I've created every Sunday. And then you have until this video airs to be the first to guess it. And this one had people guessing. So I'm using my Maimeri Blu palette. And to start with, the first pigment we are going to use, right, is that PG7. So that very, to me, unnatural for landscape, phthalo green. Maimeri Blu calls it Cupric Green Phthalo Deep. There it is. Okay, very much phthalo green. And as always, the camera doesn't like to pick up phthalo green. It likes to make it look very, very, almost like a spring green, which it is not. And then we're going to put in Prussian Blue. Prussian Blue is PB27. It's this one, which is a nice cool blue. So there we go. And then to that, I had to get a little clever. I chose Dragon's Blood. No dragons were harmed in the making of this paint. This is PBR 25. Look at that. Okay, so how did these come together? Well, as always, I'm going to pop this right here on the palette. This is the actual Perylene Green. This is going to help me show you and see if my mix is pretty much spot on before we put it to the paper. So to start with, once I put Perylene Green out on my palette, I kind of start to see a little bit of separation happening within the pigment itself. And again, PBK 31, this is a black pigment that looks green. It is definitely a very cool color. I really like this one. This is one of my favorites. So we start with our phthalo green, okay? And to that, we want to get this green to look, this almost has a little bit of like a turquoise or teal look to that green. So we're going to grab our Prussian blue. Okay, not going to need a ton of this to start. Let's just try that. Get these blended together. And now with that, we have to neutralize this a little bit. I didn't go directly with red being green's complement. I chose dragon's blood. I did have reds. You know, there are reds on my palette. But this one just seemed to work so nicely. So right now I'm looking at the overall comparison here. This might still be a little too phthalo. Now this is where I have to be really careful when I start to add to that, because I'm going to want just the slightest touch more of blue. And I did find that as I was doing this, I had to kind of play with it a little bit. You know, a tap more of the dragon's blood, a tap more of the blue, or a tap more, you know, just a touch more of the green. I think that looks pretty darn close. And I'm actually going to test it. I have a piece. This is the Strathmore Vision. This is the B watercolor paper that I always use for doing the mixes. This is just a piece of the Strathmore Vision watercolor paper, and I'm not a fan of this paper for very wet washes, but let's take a look at that in comparison to our original here. Grab just a little bit more of that pigment. There was a bit of water on my brush. Look at that. Those are so very close. Trying to get the values, again, trying to get the values the same. On this paper, I find that it is hard to judge them so well because regular Perylene Green seems to have this granulation to where when I do this on the Be Inspired paper, like it shows up so much better. I mean, there it is. We're seeing it more now with that second wash, but those are very, very, very close. I think we're going to go ahead and swatch it out here and see if hopefully I have enough of this left to put it on our swatch card. Oh, I did have this space wet first, so we'll go ahead and do that. Let's see if we can't pick this up. Again, this might not be enough. Probably need to mix up more. I can't put a lot of the darker pigment up front, and I'm seeing a bit more green in comparison here. Let's just mix up a little bit more. Just like my phthalo green. Prussian blue. A little bit more of the green. Dragon's blood. This is still very much too blue. Almost turquoise, bringing in more of that dragon's blood, and that's when it really starts to neutralize and give me that perylene green appearance. Again, I'm kind of comparing this to this, looking for what kind of undertones and how it separates. Let's just go ahead and bring that right into this. Definitely a lot more now. I'm going to darken up my bottom one. just so that hopefully I can get them to kind of look the same as far as their value. That is the wrong one. I just dipped into my mix. There you go. They are very, very, very close. Close enough, at least for me, that when I now am using my Maimeri Blu palette, I am not going to have any problems getting that perylene green color that I like for my landscapes. Making this one that I might start actually taking out more, because I'm actually starting to be able to mix with these colors what I prefer to use when I'm out painting landscapes. So let's just take another peek at this. Again, this is that Strathmore paper, and you see, you see the mixes there? Again, there's my mix. I went over it again, so added more water. It pushed the color to the edges, but let's try this one more time. I find that this paper just absorbs it so quickly. Having a hard time focusing, but there you go. It's still, sorry for my shaky hands. It picks up some of the same type of granulation with those colors. The values, I can get that very much, like it might need just a touch more blue there. Very minute amount, if so. But I have definitely been able to get this spot on in some of my mixtures. It's one that the more that I mix it, the faster I get at it. And the more that I definitely would mix this one for myself on my palette. Look at that. Right? There's my mix. I'm going straight into my Daniel Smith palette, my Perylene Green. Okay. All right, and there's the original. They're so close. Is this one that if you don't have Perylene Green with you, you would mix yourself. Perhaps you have a palette where these three colors are ones that you would have all the time, and maybe that would help free up a space where you don't have to add Perylene Green into it. Drop me a comment and let me know. I'm really curious about this one and what you guys think. Is this one that you would give a try for yourself? I usually have a phthalo green. Prussian blue is one that I'm just starting to really get into, and I'm kind of liking it a little bit more than phthalo blue for a cool blue. So that's one that I'm kind of playing with. That, and then the Dragon's Blood, I think is gorgeous. It is definitely one that I'm kind of liking for, say, like instead of a burnt sienna being a traditional PR 101 or PBR 7. And let me just show you that when I mix, like I do have, I don't even have ultramarine blue on this palette, which there's Faience blue, which is PB 60. That one can be a little fugitive normally in most brands. So that's not one that I would generally have here. But in this palette, that is the warm blue, which would be this one. And if I blend that with my Dragon's Blood, oh my goodness, look at that. It's almost like an eggplant type purple right there. Just trying to see how they would make like a neutral tint. A very cool gray. A very cool gray. Working with the same Prussian blue. Look at that. It's such a pretty color. It definitely looks like very similar to phthalo. Very similar to phthalo. And then bring in that dragon's blood. Look at how these neutralize each other so well. So for me, these two colors go very well in this palette. And then just by bringing in that green that I otherwise wouldn't really use, see that? That's definitely my preferred. So like on this palette, that's what I would go to for like a neutral tint or a black. I would go for my Prussian blue and my dragon's blood. Now there is carbon black here. I do have it on this palette. And in comparison, right, there's carbon black and there's that mixture that I just created. I like the colors to this. This is not a bad black at all though. So, you know, just a matter of preference. But in mixing with these colors, I would absolutely create and have started creating my own greens. And you guys have asked, some of you have asked, what are mixes that I use versus, you know, just mixing to match something else. So I thought this kind of did both. It answered one of the things that I would mix on a regular basis. And it's also something that mixes to look like something else, but something that I very much use all the time. I love this green, and look at the two. I mean, look right here where they kind of blend out and the values get similar. They're so very close. So drop me a comment and let me know. What do you think about this week's mix? I hope you enjoyed it, and it came not because we need to have a mix to duplicate PBK 31 Perylene Green. It is an affordable pigment to purchase in almost any brand. However, when you don't have it, you can mix it. And I didn't have it in this palette. And when I started playing with my colors to create what I like to see from Perylene Green, I was able to do so with those. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again next week with yet another mix. If you have mixes that you would like to see, please drop it in the comment and let me know what are some of the colors that you like to mix up on your own. Until next time, my friends, I'm gonna pop a video up right here that you might like to watch next. Keep mixing, keep creating, and I will see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.